I was raised by a drug dealer. I was raised by a drug dealer since I was 5 years old in America. This is a true story. My adoptive father was a drug dealer. He started spiking my food when I was 5 years old, and like I would have a sandwich, I would get dizzy, incoherent, and food I would drink and everything. It got so bad that I would have to go to the neighbor's house to eat food so I didn't feel like I was getting intoxicated from the drugs that he was putting me on. So I didn't stand a chance from the get-go from my drug addict father. So I've seen the whole drug gamut from the whole bit. And most of the reasons that the drug addicts, other than my dealer father, are holding people up at gunpoint, shooting people, robbing their houses and killing them is because they need more drug money. I have 3 personal friends of mine that have died in the United States from the drug war, not overseas, not in Afghanistan, in the United States. They are dead. My friends have died from the drug war. And one woman, her name was Robin, she was found beaten to death. She was a beautiful 25-year-old girl. She was found beaten to death under a wood pile 3 weeks after she was gone. And another friend of mine, they found him in the trunk of his car in a sleeping bag with 2 bullets in the back of his head. That's what the drug war did for him. And when the police investigated some of the people that were involved with it, mysteriously the police ran into the suspect and they instantly killed the suspect. So, case closed. So, you wonder who was in on that. So knowing these drug addicts, being around them, and seeing it, most of the violence and robberies and terrorism, I'm talking about terrorism in the United States, not overseas. More people die from drug addict terrorism than died in 9/11 when they hit the trade centers, and that's a fact, you fuckers. More people die from that. But will the fucking liberal media in the United States tell you the truth about it? Fuck no. They won't tell you the truth that more people are dying from the drug war in the United States than died in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Oh no. They won't tell you about that. The news media won't tell you the fucking truth at all. And I'm telling you the truth. And how many hits do you think I'll get on YouTube? None, because I'm not a fucking news agency. I'm just someone that knows better than you because I've been in the business. I grew up with a fucking drug dealer. I remember calls at 1:30 in the morning and my dad leaving the house with the briefcase and coming back at 2. I remember sometimes he was gone on the weekends for unexplained hours doing transactions that I didn't know about till I was old enough to understand. He was heavily abusive. He threatened to kill me if I ever talked and ever went to the police, and I was too young to know any better. I was just a scared little child, and I was involved in a situation that was involved with organized crime, and it was horrible. You know, and I feared for my life for years. I could never talk about it. That's the war going on in the U.S. The war in the country. The liberal media in our wonderful United States is going to lie through their teeth. They're going to try to point the distractions to the other countries and everything, but it's our politicians and it's the people inside the United States that are causing the drug war. They are the frickin' cartel. The government is the frickin' cartel. They are causing the drug war. If they legalize it, they take the power out of it. They should have learned from Prohibition, but apparently they didn't. If you remember how bloody the gangsters were and the Prohibition was. So that's what I've seen from the drug war. And it's at home. It's in the United States. So, you know, the public's got to get together and say, you know, we're going to stop looking overseas and fighting wars overseas, and we're going to deal with our problems at home, you know. And every time you get something from China, you're supporting a communist government. That's what you're doing. And anytime you buy drugs from another country, you're supporting those corrupt regimes. That's basically what you're doing. That's how you're spending your money. And you could be spending it on American workers and American jobs. And the drug war will continue until you legalize it. And then you can pay attention to the real problems in the U.S., like the robberies and the break-ins, the pedophiles, the child molesters, the murderers, the serial killers, and the media that won't tell the truth. You know, they'll talk about so-and-so killed somebody, or so-and-so robbed somebody, or so-and-so shot somebody, or so-and-so died, but they won't tell you the real reason why. I mean, for every action, there has to be a reaction. So there was a reason it started in the first place. And the reason it started in the first place was because of drugs or insanity induced by drugs. You legalize that stuff and they will kill themselves. They will commit suicide, and you don't have to worry about them killing you or your children. You won't have to worry about them robbing you for your drug money. And I don't see the media telling the truth about that at all. You know, they want to point the finger overseas and talk about how bad things are overseas. It's all just a distraction. You know, it's like, uh-oh, the public's starting to figure out how we're really screwing them, how the government's screwing them. Oh, we better start another war and distract everybody from what's going on in the U.S. So that's what they do. And it's like, hey, we're going to make a lot of money off of this. We'll spend billions on another country in a war that we don't belong in, trying to be world cop, which we don't belong being, which most taxpayers don't belong being. I mean, most taxpayers would rather have health care, to be honest with you. I mean, if they had a choice between having health care or fighting a war in another country, I think they'd much rather be able to go to the doctor and get the medical help that they need. Then with the Medicare, what a bunch of pricks. What a bunch of frickin' pricks. And do you think the news will tell the truth about that? Hell no. Hell no. You know, those old people, the senior citizens, fought in World War II. They lost their lives on those beachheads. They died in World War II to serve the United States Constitution, to serve the country. Those people fought hard and died. And then the ones that survive and they get older, they got to get on this Medicare and Medicaid that's written by these attorneys that are so complicated that these poor old people can't even understand the nomenclature, the terminology of what they're reading. And those forms for the Medicare and the Medicaid and the tax forms are made deliberately confusing So these poor old people can't figure them out. So these old, dying, suffering old people that were the backbone of the United States, that supported the country through thick and thin, are getting spit on and shit on. And they need to be taken care of. And there's other countries that don't do that to their people. They love their people enough that they give them medical care. They love their country enough that they give them the transportation that they need to get around. A lot of countries, you can get everywhere by a train. There's good infrastructure. I mean, the U.S. has got to work on infrastructure. Seriously, they need to build trains, train routes, and everything, and run everything on electricity rather than gas. I mean, you're basically supporting the Middle East. Every gallon of gas, I mean, you bitch about, the media bitches about the frickin' Middle East and all the evil they do and all that, and they don't even look at the mirror of the own evil that they're causing, you know, so they bitch about the Middle East. Meanwhile, these news people fill up their big SUVs and their vans with gas that they get from the Middle East, and they bitch about them. So they're supporting them. They're supporting the ones that they're bitching about. So it's kind of ironic. And also they're polluting the environment. So the U.S. could have an adequate electrical train system and adequate infrastructure. But do the politicians tell you that? No. They tell you that we need to drop bombs on somebody else. We need to start a war somewhere else because that's all we know how to do. Because that's what we've been doing forever. I mean, why not let the UN do it? Let them